Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hidden Heritage. I'm Paul LaRoche, your host. As you've noticed, we've taken a little time off over the holidays, but we're back. And I want to thank you for continuing to join us on this journey of sharing the rich stories, traditions, and history of Native America. Today, I'm excited to share some special news with you, something I've been looking forward to for quite a while. Back in 2005, a book was written about my life and the story of Rulé. As you might have guessed, it was called Hidden Heritage, subtitled The Story of Paul LaRoche, written by our friend Barbara Marshak. You've heard a brief synopsis of the story at the opening of every podcast over the past year. The book captures our journey of self-discovery, cultural reconciliation, and the formation of Rulé in great detail. The Hidden Heritage story starts in the year 1955 and concludes with our historic performance at Mount Rushmore in 2007. The book is written over 16 chapters and 225 pages, and it goes deep into moments of joy, struggle, and triumph that have shaped my life, my family, and our music. The book resonated with so many of you when it was first released. It connected not only with the Rulé fan base, but also with people who share a love for Native American culture and stories of transformation. While it's currently out of print, I've been thinking about how to bring its powerful message back to life. And I realized what better way than through this podcast. So I'm thrilled to announce that in 2025, I'll be narrating the chapters of Hidden Heritage, the story of Paul LaRoche, as a special series on this podcast. Each episode will feature a chapter from the book narrated by me, with personal reflections and updates woven in to the story to give it a fresh perspective. But don't worry, we're not straying too far from the heart of what made Hidden Heritage what it's all about. The book series will be interrupted occasionally with our regular episodes, bringing you the same diverse stories and cultural insights you've come to expect from this podcast. By sharing this story, I hope to offer you a deeper understanding of my journey as an adopted child in my reunion with the Lakota culture and the creation of Rulé, of course, our mission to bridge cultures through music. It's my hope that these chapters will inspire you, just as they have inspired so many over the years. So whether you're a longtime fan of the book or hearing about it for the first time, I invite you to join me on this new chapter of Hidden Heritage. Together, we'll explore the personal and cultural threads that weave the story of Rulé, and perhaps find new ways to connect with one another along the way. Join me now as we kick off this new podcast series. Hidden Heritage, written by Barbara Marshak. Foreword, narrated by Paul LaRoche. When Barbara Marshak approached me about writing our story, I was filled with both excitement and apprehension. Finally, a writer seemed genuinely interested in documenting our unusual story in written form. My disappointing experiences with writers prior to this meeting were all too common. Many shared an interest in the Native American culture, but usually there was some hidden motive at work. Sooner or later, they all pursued their own personal projects. Over time, I began to wonder if our story was of any special significant interest to the outside world. Perhaps what I was feeling was still the lingering effects of the initial, overwhelming excitement from our reunion. Over the years, following our first return to the Lower Brule Sioux Reservation, I have observed what I call a transformation in many people. These transformations occur upon hearing short excerpts of our story. Timing is critical in all human endeavors. By the time Barbara and I had our second meeting, my heart was firmly committed to revealing the full Rulé story. It has always been difficult for me to adequately describe the feeling of being a product of two worlds. From the beginning, I have felt a combination of joy and lament. Joy from the unconditional acceptance of our new loving family, and lament as a result of instantly inheriting the plight of the American Indian. It was hard at first to accept the situation. There is a certain guilt that one carries in being removed from such an environment at birth, even though all circumstances are beyond your control. Knowing that I was brought into the comforts of mainstream America, yet my biological brother, 1 year younger than me, remained in the reservation system. What if the situation were reversed? It causes you to think deeply about what is going on. Then there is the realization and skepticism of being part of something of a spiritual nature. That is where things get kind of heavy. Early on, during a grant application review in St. Paul, I was criticized for using the term transforming. How dare I suggest that this somewhat common reunion story has a transforming quality? Well, the grant was denied, but the transformations continued. I now realize that when one encounters the spiritual, you walk a fine line. The things that were programmed into you when young, the linear philosophy of mainstream America, it all goes out the window, yet you still need to function in the mainstream. Most of us, including myself, wish to maintain our credibility. I was raised in a Catholic family in white middle-class America, yet somehow I found common ground in the spiritual philosophy of Native America. This in itself could be grounds for criticism from most mainstream religions, not to mention cause for concern from friends and family. There seemed to be something mysterious at work here, something just out of reach of simple explanation. It is the timing to start with. If these events had happened a mere 30 years earlier, a blip in the course of American history, all this information would have simply been swept under the rug. Like most families of that era, who were of Native American descent, that information was kept secret or even destroyed. It wasn't popular or desirable family history. It only became popular to be Native American in the past 30 years. I meet thousands of people every year who can't wait to share with me that they have a little bit of Cherokee in their family tree somewhere. Unfortunately, families now looking for documentation of their Native American ancestry will never find the truth. In most cases, the information was lost with the previous generation. Another enigma is the actual facts surrounding my adoption. There remains unanswered questions. I am content with the information at hand, and I now believe this to be part of a universal plan of sorts. I have accepted this as something of a spiritual gift, not to be questioned or doubted. Finally, there continues to be the overwhelming response from the many individuals who have been affected in a positive way by this story. It would seem as though I was placed here for a specific reason. As time passes, the big picture has become clearer to me. Never in my younger days had I used or comprehended the term reconciliation. But now I use it often. In simple terms, when I became part of these two worlds, mainstream America and Native America, I became a different person. As most of us would do, I proudly proclaimed ownership of both sides, having a love for both. In a childlike effort to share the two with each other, I found myself trying to bring them closer together. Within this act of love, I have found myself at work on this thing called reconciliation. In my heart, before I could let love flow between these two worlds, I had to apply unconditional forgiveness from both sides for the wounds of the past. Then I could feel love surround both sides. With love as the common denominator, I could see the way to infinite and unimaginable possibilities never before conceived. This greater sense of purpose is at the core of all aspects of my life. The transformation occurred seamlessly in my heart, though it was a more delicate process on the exterior. I have been surprised at the medium I find to be the best conductor of the message. Most of my young life, I took music for granted. I was thankful for the ability to entertain others and gathered great joy from doing so. Never did I anticipate that one day I would find the true potential of music. In explaining this story, I find my vocabulary insufficient to fully encapsulate the events. Somehow, music seems to completely translate the story. It is as if music has an extra dimension, not usually tapped into, a spiritual dimension. As a result, I have been privileged and honored to be at the crossroads of what I have observed as the healing process between these two cultures. Sometimes I feel like a rogue filmmaker, following my heart against all odds, flying well below the radar of the mainstream music industry, our group, Rulé, traveling like a band of gypsies down the road less traveled. We have carved out a niche where one never existed. The underground circuit that we initially cursed now seems like a blessing in disguise. We have learned to be self-sufficient and have come to enjoy the unconventional venues that we frequent. I feel like part musician and part minister, traveling the back roads, spreading our music and message, hoping against the odds to facilitate the healing process. For the most part, this healing goes unnoticed by the masses and the mainstream media. It is an underground movement that appears to be gaining momentum. I believe it is meant to be an individual process, a part of each individual person's spiritual journey, and it requires individual attention. Even today, I am a little uncomfortable with so many references to spiritual and mysterious. I am certain, though, that we are on the high road, the one that brings a sense of purpose while navigating its narrow path. I have found a good indicator for this road. Generally, the greater the negative resistance, the closer you are to being on track. This fights conventional wisdom. It is not an easy path to follow, but I have been told that what the Lakota call the red road has never been an easy road to follow. The road narrows until it's only a fine line, thin as thread. Engaging in work that puts positive energy into the world requires a great mental and spiritual strength, as well as outside support. I have decided, with my family's support, to openly share our journey in progress. Barbara, she came along at just the right time and with the right amount of personal conviction to see the task through. She has worked diligently and has demonstrated a level of commitment that even I could not match, almost as if the job were meant for her. I can only speculate that she has drawn from a part of her own personal spiritual journey as well. That's how it works. The Lakota have a saying, Matakoe o Yasin. It is actually a philosophy for living in harmony, still followed by our indigenous people today. It means, translated, we are all related. The actual Lakota translation goes deeper to mean we are related to all things. Not only are we as human beings all related, regardless of our racial boundaries, but we are related to those things around us, the air, water, plants, and animals. We are further connected to a higher power, the Creator. This is the great mystery that we will never fully understand. I have been shown these basic spiritual laws in a dramatic manner through this personal journey, but the lessons are there for everyone. I share them with you in the hope of forgiveness, healing, and reconciliation of our cultures. None of us alive today can change or alter the past, but we can bring hope, love, peace, and unity into the future for the greater good of human existence. Hidden Heritage Prologue, written by Barbara Marshak. In late June 1955, a woman arrived at St. Mary's Hospital in Pierre, South Dakota, all alone and close to her time for delivery. She was in her mid-30s and came from a good Indian family, highly respected in the community. The woman deeply loved her newborn son, but with her reason still a secret, she made a most painful decision. With a heavy sadness in her heart, she wrote his name on the birth certificate, a name she chose with great care. Then she left the hospital, leaving her infant son in the care of St. Mary's nurses. There was something special about the baby boy with dark hair and dark eyes. The nurses in the obstetrics unit were instantly enthralled with him. They took turns dotting on him, noting how his skin was soft as silk. They held him, cradled him, and rocked him when he cried. Oh, how they loved him, watched over him day and night, lullabying him to sleep with their favorite hymns. As the hours turned to days and the days turned to weeks, the baby boy LaRoche almost outgrew the tiny bassinet that was meant for newborns. The nurses fervently prayed to find a good home for him. One day, when the baby boy was about 5 weeks old, a couple came to see him. The first time the husband and wife laid eyes on him, they were immediately taken with him. "Oh, he fits right into our family," the woman crooned softly. "He's so beautiful." She even thought he resembled her dark-complected husband. The nurses were reluctant to let him go because baby boy LaRoche had unequivocally captured their hearts. However, they knew the most important thing for the little boy was to have all the love and advantages a family could offer. With great joy, the husband and wife from the white world prepared to take the little boy from the Indian world into their home. The nurses could see the hand of God at work, intricately weaving the lives of these three souls together as a family. They knew no matter the circumstances, God could bring something beautiful and wonderful out of the weave. And so the nurses let him go. Thank you for joining us on the special podcast introduction of Hidden Heritage, the book version of our story written by author Barbara Marshak. Stay tuned for the first chapter, which will debut next podcast. And as always, thank you for being part of this journey with me. I'm Paul LaRoche, and this is Hidden Heritage.